York had fallen silent, its streets choked with smoke and sorrow, but silence can hide more than grief. Beneath the mountains of ash and steel, away from the cameras and speeches, there were whispers, rumors of secrets buried under the ruins of the towers. Most dismissed them as conspiracy, the kind of wild talk that thrives in tragedy. But for Jake Mallory, a firefighter from Ladder 21, it wasn't a rumor. It was a memory. A memory he could never shake from the night he stumbled into something no one was supposed to see. While others combed through debris for survivors, his crew was directed toward the sub-levels beneath the trade center. The orders were vague. Secure the vaults. Vaults? He hadn't even known there were vaults down there, but they were real. Miles of reinforced concrete and steel, carved into the bedrock, housing billions in bullion. The COMEX Metals Trading Division called it infrastructure. Jake called it surreal. Only the vault doors weren't pristine like they should have been. They were scarred, as though someone had been down there before the towers fell. He remembered tracing his gloved hand along the blackened edge of the steel, scorch marks unnatural in their pattern. Somebody tried to cut into this, he muttered to a partner. Hours later, when he brought it up, the conversation died. "Don't talk about it," an FBI agent told him flatly. "Focus on the recovery." By the end of October, armored trucks rolled out of Ground Zero under heavy escort, supposedly carrying every last ounce of recovered metal. Hundreds of millions accounted for. But rumors persisted. The numbers whispered in Wall Street bars didn't match the numbers reported in press releases. Something was missing. Something in the billions. Jake tried to bury it. After all, the world had changed forever. But then came the trades. News spread like wildfire. In the days before the attacks, someone had bet against the very airlines whose planes were hijacked. Put options, massive ones. The kind that scream foreknowledge. United Airlines on September 6th, American Airlines on September 10th. Spikes so abnormal that even veteran traders called them impossible coincidences. The official investigation shrugged. Hedge funds, they said. Routine pessimism in a shaky market. Nothing to see here. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling. Gold disappearing. Bets placed on tragedy. And now, in hushed corners of firehouse kitchens, new rumors began to emerge about the missing black boxes. The flight recorders from the Twin Towers never turned up, according to the FBI. Not a single usable scrap. Which would have been believable if black boxes weren't designed to survive fire and impact far worse than what happened in New York. Yet more than one firefighter swore they saw them, handed them off to men in plain suits who vanished into the smoke, leaving no record behind. When they went public, they were ignored, painted as grief-stricken, mistaken, confused. But Jake knew these men. He trusted them with his life. They didn't mistake a flight recorder for debris. So why the silence? Then came the van. Witnesses in New Jersey reported 5 men standing on a rooftop, filming the towers as they burned, laughing and cheering. It sounded so grotesque, Jake wanted to dismiss it. Except the story checked out. Police arrested them hours later. Cash, passports, even a box cutter in the vehicle. They were interrogated for weeks, then deported, and the file was sealed. Jake sat in his apartment one night, surrounded by stacks of newspaper clippings, half-burned notebooks, and grainy photocopies of government reports. He stared at the patterns, his pulse hammering. One piece by itself could be explained away. Together they told a story no one wanted to hear. Billions in gold, possibly removed before the towers fell. Financial trades timed to profit from tragedy. black boxes vanishing into thin air, foreign nationals celebrating while thousands died. Was it incompetence, coincidence, or a cover-up so massive it was stitched into the very fabric of the tragedy? The thought chilled him. One evening he met with an old contact, a broker named Ellen who'd worked near Wall Street. She leaned across the bar, voice low. "I ran the numbers myself. There's no way those trades weren't deliberate. The volume wasn't just high, it was surgical. Somebody knew." "Who?" Jake pressed. Her eyes flicked nervously around the room. "That's the part that scares me. The SEC traced the trades back to institutions, hedge funds, nothing tied to terrorists. But those institutions, some of them had government contracts, defense ties, intelligence ties." Jake felt the air leave his lungs. Later that night, he pulled out a box from under his bed. The scorched glove he'd worn on September 12th, the one smeared with black residue from the vault doors. He clenched it tight. That wasn't ordinary fire damage. Someone had been there before him. Weeks passed. The city mourned. Politicians made speeches. Investigations closed. But Jake couldn't move on. The pieces haunted him, a jigsaw of grief and betrayal. He dreamed of black boxes being loaded onto unmarked vans, of gold disappearing into tunnels, of men smiling at the sky as the towers fell. The hardest part wasn't believing something terrible had happened beyond the attacks. The hardest part was realizing he might never know who was behind it, or why. One night, he walked past Ground Zero, now a crater of lights and cranes. Tourists stood in silence, clutching candles, pressing hands to fences. Jake stopped too, staring into the abyss where the towers once stood. Somewhere beneath his boots, steel vaults had held secrets that would never be told. Somewhere in government archives, tapes and logs from vanished black boxes sat gathering dust. Somewhere in financial records, trades lined with blood money waited to be forgotten. And in the silence, the questions screamed louder than the answers. Who had the power to make billions disappear? Who had the foresight to profit from death? Who had the authority to erase evidence before it saw the light of day? Jake closed his eyes, and for a moment he was back there. Smoke choking the air, sirens wailing, the city crying out in pain. Only this time, beneath the grief, he heard something else. A whisper, a warning, that the story of 9/11 was not finished, that beneath the mourning, beneath the patriotism, beneath the official lines repeated on every news channel, there lay another truth. One darker, one deeper, one locked away, behind vault doors scorched with secrets. Jake knew he would never stop searching, not because he thought he'd find the truth, but because the not knowing was worse. The world had lost thousands of lives that day, but it had also lost something else. Trust. And in that absence, the questions only multiplied, shadows stretching longer with every year. He looked at the skyline where new towers rose from the ashes. They glittered in the night, proud, defiant. But Jake couldn't shake the thought that somewhere buried deep beneath them, the gold was gone, the evidence buried, the truth sealed. And in that silence, a single chilling fact remained. Some people hadn't just seen the attacks coming. They'd been ready to profit from them. Jake couldn't sleep that night. The hum of the city outside his window felt different now, like the sound of something alive that carried secrets in its veins. He pulled the box out again, but this time something slipped free from beneath the scorched glove. A small folded note he hadn't noticed before. It wasn't his. The paper was crumpled, smudged with soot, probably stuffed into his gear when he wasn't looking. In scrawled handwriting, barely legible, it read, Don't ask about the boxes. They weren't lost. They were taken. No name, no date, just that single warning, like a ghost reaching out from the ashes. Jake felt his hands tremble. He thought back to the men in plain suits, the vault doors cut from the inside, the silent surrounding trades that made fortunes from the dead. He had spent years telling himself he was chasing shadows. But this was different. Someone had seen what he saw. Someone had known enough to leave a message. He looked out at the skyline, the lights gleaming against the darkness. For the first time since the attacks, he felt the weight of something heavier than grief. If the note was true, then the worst part wasn't what had happened on that day. The worst part was what had been hidden ever since. The city had rebuilt. The world had moved on. But beneath the glass towers and memorial pools, a truth was buried so deep it may never be unearthed. Jake folded the note carefully and slipped it back into the box. He whispered into the empty room, his voice breaking with both sorrow and defiance. "They can bury it, but I won't forget."